All right, then let's get started. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. I just noticed I used a different account, but it'll all work out. So, that being said, my name is William, head of XA Academy, and of course, as usual, your AMA host. Now, before we get started, just a little bit about the exchange. The company was founded in 2018. It currently serves more than 7.8 million users. We did just go through a rebrand just a few weeks ago, so we have a whole bunch of new products that are just completely revamped. I do want to quickly just mention them before we get on today's topic. That being said, we do have that very unique XC mining program that's going on right now, and you guys can actually have the opportunity to do a lot of cloud mining without actually having to run those machines or maintain them yourselves. Do keep in mind that there is this 10% commission incentive policy involved. So if you do guys want to make that introduction to someone else, you can make that extra 10% yourself. The whole XT Shark Tank, excuse me, did I say Shark Tank? The XT Shark Fin product that actually has currently an 8% guaranteed APR. So definitely go check that out right now. It's actually one of my favorite products, considering the fact that you actually get guaranteed 8% on top of whatever else that you might be able to get on top of that. So it could all the way go down 12 to 14%. So if you have that extra stable coins and you're just hoping to hold on for an extra 7 days, and you just want to earn like a short yield on that, I think like the shark fin is product is perfect for that. Definitely want to take advantage of that to maximize your return. We do have that really interesting USDT exclusive financial management available right now. Then that is locked for 65 days, but you enjoy that amazing 16% APR right now if you do subscribe. So definitely go check that out. All right. That being said, I do want to jump into today's topic. And for those who are not aware, there is a very interesting strategic shift going on in the whole Ethereum ecosystem, and that is the Lido Alliance. All right. So for those who are not aware what Lido is, they are a staking protocol that allows you to stake your Ethereum without actually having to stake or lock up 32 Ethereums exactly. So one, a lot of people don't have 32 Ethereum to stake. And for two, you can actually use your staked Ethereum, your ST ETH in your wallet to do a whole bunch of stuff to interact with DeFi protocols and even earn more yield. All right. So the Lido Alliance, though, this is completely new. This is a huge and new strategic effort. And I really do think this is going to make ripples in the upcoming few years. All right. It's really going to enhance the whole Ethereum ecosystem by improving its decentralization. Well, at least that's the aim. And of course, making sure that Lido is actually staying within the game, the whole restaking protocol, which I'm going to get down a little bit later. All right. And of course, to making sure that they all still stay as a leader of the whole permissionless restaking network. Because as of right now, Lido has a whole bunch of new competitors and they're stealing a lot of liquidity from Lido. So this is Lido's solution to all of that, right? Now, I find this interesting, this whole new Lido Alliance, because it's really inspired by this vision articulated by a lady called Rosabeth Moth Cantor. For those who are not know who she is, she's a renowned American sociologist, and she's best known for her groundbreaking work in leadership, leadership change, and of course, organizational behavior. So Lido has definitely put in their homework into this. And the whole point of this alliance is to really seek and, of course, realize the dreams of a more decentralized Ethereum. And the whole reason being is because the central to this whole initiative is the growing support of the ST ETH. That is the state Ethereum that is deployed and provided ran by Lido protocol themselves, and really to help them strengthen their whole networks decentralization. That is the narrative. However, from my perspective, I also believe this is also how Lido repositions themselves to making sure that they are not only the leaders in staking protocols, but also potentially claw back some of that liquidity they've lost to other restaking protocols. All right. So the whole idea is to basically create this inclusive framework, right? So basically, where a lot of these new protocols that are going to be built now, as well in the future, they can basically thrive. But here's a kicker: they can focus on restaking with Lido, right? Because I mentioned earlier, they're losing a lot of liquidity to these other competitors, these restaking competitors, right? And as of course, their new proposal to build this Lido Alliance has outlined their structure and how to build them to really foster this decentralized environment, to ensure that the principles of whole decentralization, and of course, the security itself is also really helped out. Of course, the goal is not just to, of course, expand and making sure they are the dominant staking and restaking protocol, but they also want to make sure that they are aligned and tuned to Ethereum's values. All right, so that's not really easy because sometimes you need to make some sacrifices, even because for efficiency purposes. But hey, they're building on Ethereum, and this is how they're going to do it, right? They're going to stick to those core values that Ethereum one actually believes in. And it really ensures that every single participant that really contributes actually is having a positive contribution to the whole ecosystem. All right, so this whole alliance framework, though, it does emphasize that collaboration and that community involvement. I mean, I think that's basically the narrative they're trying to go with because that is how they're going to claw their and that's actually one of their strengths, right? So if they're losing liquidity to all of these other restaking protocols, this is actually how they're going to be able to retain and maintain all that money by making sure that other people utilize their STE, making sure that Lido is still in the core part of the whole DeFi staking and restaking narrative, all right? And this really invites a lot of new, as well as even the old protocols, to basically share similar their goals, right? And of course, that's the the outer reason you can say to basically quote unquote join forces. I would see that as more of like an ideal way to basically say, hey, look, if you're going to build your protocol, count us in, take advantage of an STE of liquidity, just don't cut us all the way out. And then basically, um, I think this is like it's good. It's win-win. It can really be win-win, right? And basically, when you have this inclusiveness, right, you really want to make sure that they're maintaining their, of course, their integrity and their mission as their Lido DAO. All at the same time, they're trying to foster innovation by allowing new developers to take advantage of the SDE for restaking and, of course, staking purposes. And then this basically is their answer to them losing so much liquidity in the last literally few months to all these new restaking protocols, right? Because if you're not being able to take advantage of and being utilized at SE and to earn a yield, and of course you are, but at the same time they're actually being swapped for something else, so you can actually restake it, so other people can actually take advantage and earn even higher yield, right? But that's not really, excuse me, that's not very um effective as if you're part of the Lido protocol team, right? So really understanding Lido finance is really crucial for any DeFi user, especially if you're looking forward to like maximize your participation and benefits within the whole Ethereum ecosystem, especially your Ethereum position. So I do think that this whole alliance is going to represent a concerted effort to really bolster the security, the decentralization, of course, the utility of Ethereum through the integration of innovative protocols and partnerships, right? So basically, this whole initiative can basically provide very significant advantages for users in terms of security, right? Now, first and foremost, I do have to mention that as much as the whole alliance is committed to, provide, security practice guarantees, I do think that like DeFi users can, pretty much like trust that the protocol is endorsed by Lido DAO. That's going to be vetted and as secure as possible because Lido DAO that's been here for a while and they've been making very DAO. They've been functioning like a DAO for a very long time, right? So this basically reduces a lot of risk associated with like participating in these new protocols, right? And this really gives you like just the average DeFi user just another sense of peace of mind, so they don't have to like read through like proposals after proposals to really understand like every niche little idea, right? And I think that name, this whole new name of this Lido Alliance, really allows them to provide other DeFi protocols the stamp of approval that are using STEs, right? All right, now do also keep in mind that as the whole ecosystem around STE staked Ether, right, they're deployed by Lido Finance, as it grows though, so do the opportunities for people like you and I to really benefit from this utility. So when you're holding SCE, right? Of course, you're earning yield off your Ethereum staked with on Lido Finance. You can also participate as just a regular user with a variety of decentralized applications, right, currently now, and probably a lot more in the future once this whole Lido Alliance grows, right? So I'm really looking forward to how SEETH is going to be integrated with all these new protocols, assuming that they're going to really be properly adopted and potentially earning you guys a lot more rewards and and a much more bigger return on your assets, right? And basically, Lido Alliance, they're trying to they're using that whole we are more robust, we are more interconnected ecosystem narrative to really drive this adoption, right? To try and make it a lot more attractive just to the average DeFi user like you and I, so that they're making sure that the SEF is associated to not only its own protocol, but to other protocols as well. Now, that being said, though, I think understanding and really engaging with Lido Alliance really offers DeFi users definitely a better enhanced security because basically the Lido finances like business reputation is now on the line, so they have to make sure that whoever joins and utilizes SEETH in this Lido Alliance, they got to making sure that they're doing their homework properly and making sure their smart contracts are spec clean, right? Now, and once we do see, I do expect this whole growing decentralized ecosystem is going to be starting to grow around SEETH and not all these other restaking protocols. I do think that Lido is going to be able to build this. We're going to start seeing this like interconnected system provided by Lido sooner than later. And it's really designed to making sure that, of course, not only Ethereum is decentralized, but it's also more centered. I'll get this a little bit later, but they can be more centered around as using STE, making sure Lido is always going to be one of the big boys playing in the game, right? Now, they're of course they're going to use permissionless software and market dynamics to making sure that SE has really demonstrated its effectiveness as a staking asset in, of course, a decentralized Ethereum network, right? And this is really crucial for making sure that Ethereum stays as secure as possible. Now, do keep in mind that that strategy, though, it really does like it depends on whether SEETH it can be leveraged for its inherent qualities to build a robust ecosystem. So if SEETH, if there's any kind of like issues involved with that, especially when it like how like solo stakers want to like stake their ETH using Lido DAO, that's would be a potential issue. But since it has been tested time and true for quite a long time, I do think that this whole growth regarding the further adoption of SCEs by a new and upcoming new protocols that are joining Lido Alliance is going to be essential. It's really important to really enhance the whole Ethereum layer one as a whole. Because for those who not be aware, lately there's a huge narrative going on whether Solana is gonna overtake Ethereum because it's level adoption, it's faster, it's newer, it's better, right? So there's a lot of stories going on there, but like when we have so much methods and so many new protocols to be able to take advantage of the Lido Finance's STE, this might be a compelling reason arguing to say that, what, maybe liquidity won't be leaving Ethereum. Maybe liquidity will be just keep continuing to grow on Ethereum because there's so many more developers building on Solidity instead of on Solana, right? All right, so now do keep in mind that the role of the Lido DAO is going to play also a big crucial role in how the whole Lido Alliance ecosystem is going to grow. Now, historically, though, Lido DAO has explored various different approaches to making sure that, new protocols, although not always structured success, they're making sure that even some of their earlier programs are aimed to making sure that, they can extend their support beyond Ethereum. And right now, of course,
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Some people, some of those protocols, they do face challenges due to an unclear alignment with the Ethereum's goals, right? And basically the Lido DAO is to making sure that those those values that you want to share are basically aligned with what Ethereum Layer 1 believes in, right? Now, do keep in mind, consequently, though, the shift has basically shifted back to Ethereum-centric initiatives. This basically emphasize the success of their huge Lego program. So for those who are not aware what Lego is, basically a proven effective way in supporting basically the Ethereum ecosystem through targeted grants, right? So, for example, I'll give you an example. April 2022, Lido DAO allocated 2 million LDO tokens grant to the Ethereum Protocol Guild to basically support Ethereum's development, right? So, this kind of initiative is huge. It's huge. It basically contributes big to the huge Ethereum, not just the security, but also more importantly, the protocol audits and, of course, the integration of like other new like STE right, into new protocols or W wrapped STE into other new protocols. And I really think that really demonstrates like the bigger impact of these new grants as a really well structured support mechanisms, right? Now, do keep in mind though, I do think that in order to really understand, navigate around Lido Finance, it does take a little bit of understanding how it's designed to really facilitate collaborations between these new protocols that are basically trying to commit themselves to making sure that Ethereum is decentralized and validated that way, right? So the Lido Finance governance is basically process allows Lido DAO basically to identify and support projects that align with that their mission, basically in ensuring that the STETH ecosystem is basically is supported, is enhanced, right? So the establishment of a really dedicated like alliance, such as Lido Alliance, really is central to this whole framework. Now, I do think that the Alliance work group will assess a lot of potential new members in the upcoming 4 or 5 months, and they're probably gonna, of course, guide them through the whole governance process. This is how you use Lido DAO. This is how you're gonna basically put up your proposals, and to really basically making sure that all these new product development are going as you're babysitting the product development. You're making sure that they all go as smooth as possible, right? Because let's face it, guys, Lido Finance has been here for quite a long time, and they'll basically act as basically the first point of contact for any kind of alliance members to really basically ensure that they continue to get support. For those not aware, like Solana's gone great adoption, but it's also because they have some great support from the layer one team, right? So importantly, they will basically like a Lido, anyone in this alliance work group are going to be able to get that authority to really get that extra support, to also making sure that they can also propose the offboarding members if they have to if any of them deviate from the basically the principles of staked ether or even the Ethereum layer one, right? So I think that Lido token holders are going to be able to retain a lot of control through these of course, on-chain voting, to really ensure that this whole alliance really remains true to its mission. Because if it does deviate, you're probably going to see a few projects dropped, and it is what it is, right? But I think that's really the beauty of blockchain, right? And of course, this whole democratic process is going to be really important to making sure that that transparency is still really maintained properly. And of course, you work in this trustless state, right? And that's the whole point and beauty of a public blockchain, right? I also do think that the work group is going to be able to facilitate a lot more onboarding. You're going to be facilitating a lot more, like, and like probably like maybe in quarterlies or maybe like bi-monthly. We'll see how it goes. Like, I can see like small batches up and around, because it does take a while, and you need to take away some tension when you actually when you have so much more voting involved. You kind of need like a proper schedule to basically manage all these voting that's happening, so you can ensure that basically all these potential new partners in the Lido Alliance are basically evaluated as thoroughly as possible, to basically make sure that security the procedures are taking they're doing what they're supposed to do for security purposes, right? Now, I do think that ERC20 tokens, especially especially related to the projects that do join Lido Alliance, are going to be big benefactors. So for those who are looking for doing a lot of fundamental analysis, looking for the next gem, this might just be the pool you might want to keep an eye on, right? It's basically, and because basically when you endorse or basically integrate these new protocols into the Lido Alliance, they you drive like more utility, more adoption immediately because Lido's finance has been out there for quite a while, right? And consequently, of course, you got that more drive for the demand for their tokens, right? So I really do think that the whole integration of protocols into the lines itself, really making sure that their credibility and of course they're visible on Ethereum network, right? Like I'll give you a quick example, like tokens associated with security focused projects like Nexus Mutual, they can probably see a nice potential price impact, right? Because I really do think that Alliance really emphasize obsessive security practice to making sure that these protocols offer insurance and of course risk mitigation services to really attract more users and liquidity, making sure that you're driving out demand, price, and of course their tokens. Probably another good example would be something like Rocket Pool, right? Because they're a decentralized Ethereum staking protocol that basically aligns well with the Alliance's mission, right? And so instead of making your rivals your enemies, you can get them to join your team, right? So when you start seeing the increased adoption of STE staked Ether, right, as collateral on other DeFi protocols, you get a much more broader participation, like in staking activities, and you can also get like a lot more higher in, demand for even like the projects like token. In this case, the RPL token, right? I really do think that can definitely positively influence their price. Now, do keep in mind that, of course. That would depend on whether Rocket Pools gets endorsed by Lido Finance. So we'll have to see how that goes, right? So I do think like the Lido Alliance is a good idea, and it's gonna really make some these tokens really move in terms of like price volatility, because they really do. They do benefit from just basically the credibility of the finance, Lido Finance's brand name, right? I think they're probably going to see probably some other prime examples like Aave out there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that joining. But do keep in mind that everything comes with risk. Everything comes with potential issues, right? So now that we have more like more people joining this alliance, so this also means that like people get like cut out, right? That's not necessarily a bad thing because it just means that certain people they're actually vetting certain projects that right? But of course, I have no doubt that people are going to start talking about like centralization risks. I do have to point that out, but I do think that that's kind of like overshooting it, considering the fact that like you do need people to look over projects and making sure that they are vetted, right? Their smart contracts are checked, and that's always a good thing, right? So rejecting though the projects with really bad smart contract drafting, that's not a bad thing. Yes, you can call that centralization, but I think that's like a poor label to use. So although like the whole alliance does really promote decentralization, yes, I do understand that there is that process of selecting endorsing protocols that of course could lead to I guess you can say like a concentration of power to of course the Lido DAO and of course their contributors. But like if a small group within the alliance exerts more influence over specific projects are endorsed or not, that of course you can always make the case that you are creating more of a decentralized structure, right? But I do think that that might be like a long shot. I think like some of the more potential issues out there are actually related to the governance challenge you're probably going to have, right? Because the thing is, the Lido Alliance really heavily relies on active participation of course, those who actually hold LTO tokens, right? And when you actually have this new alliance, you're going to have so many more governance proposals, and that requires people to spend more time to actually vote, right? I mean, like I think that's a potential concern because, like, I don't know about you guys, but like I've done a little bit of like online probably governance proposals before, but like I get a little tired when you, especially if you're doing it every month. Maybe I just like I'm just like that. And I get tired, but like, yeah, it does happen to some people. And I do also think that like we're gonna start seeing some more market volatility, right? I mean, like I did mention like in a positive way earlier, but like sudden changes in token prices driven by the whole alliance endorsement. Or even like offboarding protocols, right? You can start seeing like dips, and I have no doubt that we're probably gonna see some people calling that like market manipulation, because like that like if a project is gonna be like rejected by the Lido Alliance, it's most likely it's gonna take a price dip, right? Because no one wants to see like you know a their own project being specifically rejected by such a big DeFi behemoth like Lido Finance. So when you do get rejected, you can always mark the case. You can always like someone behind it, behind the rejection, they could be like shorting this project, right? So there are potential concerns, right? But I also think that like the benefits outweigh the negatives, right? So it's kind of do keep that in mind. There is another one that I do want to mention is that's pretty much how like resource is going to be allocated. Because when you're managing the whole alliance, you're gonna probably be dealing with a lot of resources. And if you're not talking about just like liquidity itself, we're also talking about like time, right? Which I mentioned earlier. You're gonna have a lot more proposals you need to vote, and I can do like one or two a month, but I just get tired when there's so many more proposals, right? Of course, you have to like vote on the funding, and of course the who does what, the expertise, right? So like the whole focus on maintaining and basically growing this Lido Alliance, it really might just divert a lot more resources than people think they would from basically more critical areas within Lido DAO, right? And when you take that into account, um, you really have that need to basically fund operations within the Alliance work group and really support endorsed protocols. I really do think there's a potential strain in, of course, the DAO's treasury, because like when you have more projects onboarding, you know, you only work with so much money right now, right? And that really ensures like a balanced allocation of resources and the prevention, right, of the DAO's capabilities might be pretty crucial for, of course, long-term sustainability of this new alliance, right? So while I do think like Lido Alliance does provide a lot of good opportunities, it's going to enhance the whole Ethereum ecosystem as a whole. People should be able to use a lot more ETH a lot more conveniently and a lot of different protocols. I also do think that introduces a lot more interesting potential challenges, right? Especially if things get, ramping up really quickly, especially in the bull market, right? And of course, if you of course, you want to address that centralization risk, the governance issues, and even the resource allocation, because every project there's only so much resource you can really have, right? And I think that's going to be like really essential to making sure that this whole alliance is going to be a success, and of course, making sure that it is still aligned, however it changes, still aligned with what Ethereum is. All right, so that's my spiel with Lido Alliance. If you guys have any questions or concerns, you guys can definitely ask me any questions. I'll be passing the mic over to anyone who asks. So feel free to put up your hands, and I'll be sure to do so now. All right, so it seems like we don't have any questions today. That's wonderful. Hopefully, you guys learned something about the Lido Alliance. Definitely stay on top of it. I really do think that any projects that are in being proposed and definitely passed, they could absolutely see some really big adoption in a very short time. So I really think this is something you guys want to keep on your eye. Keep on keep keep checking out on a weekly basis. You never know, you might find that next small digital unicorn that's out there, right? With that being said, we're going to wrap up our AMA. A huge thank you to everyone who really joined today's Twitter space session. Until the next one, definitely stay curious and keep learning. Have a good one.